biggest demo we've ever had over here. Holy cow.
There's a
I don't have any signs.
There's a guy with like a dead baby, a long plexiglass pole, and lots of fringe on his jacket.
This is great. Look, everybody's out here. We got a little model droney. All right. This is cool. Wow, look at all the cars. This is the biggest ever. This is gonna shock them.
Are we calling on Syracuse leaders? Are we calling on international leaders? What are we doing out here?
I just think we're taking a moral position that's universal. We happen to be in Syracuse, but essentially we're really taking a stand to say that the murder of innocent people, and particularly children, is immoral. And so I think that's what we're doing.
Thank you so much.
Protection on the other sheet. His name is
We have here orders of protection that people can sign,
We looked in this.
or you can sign other people up that you would like to see protected.
Oh yeah, I want to sign.
We should probably have like a... Oh, do you want to hand it?
It does seem to me like something like that, if I asked around after it, they would have, I just should have had my name up there.
There's a story from anti-Vietnam woman.
We're going to have a slow, solemn drum beat. So you could just volunteer to help with that if you like. And also, of course, the many pictures and signs that we're going to do. And just to give you a little preview, that also there are flowers that later on, flowers will be laid down as representing the people who've been killed by drones as we're reading the names.
I'd like to invite every one of you to attend my trial. I'm charged with attempted criminal trespass and loitering for wearing a mask. But the real issue is we need to stop the killing of so many innocent children, so many innocent women, so many innocent men. That's why I was there. That's why all of my friends have been going to court over the last few years. That's why we will continue to go to court. That's why we are here today.
So 5
p.m.
5 p.m. Thank you.
I just returned from out west. I was out at Cris Air Force Base when Code Pink was arrested. 7 magnificent women were arrested about 2 weeks ago on Friday. A week after that, Brian Terrell went back with the Nevada Desert Experience Sacred Peace Walk. 9 more people were arrested. Resistance is fertile. We will succeed. We will win. Yes! We will overcome the scourge of this evil. Violence may dull the consciousness of our leaders, but we, the people, will stand up to this violence, and we will find our way to a peaceful, life-affirming world. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. So we hope you can join John tomorrow. A lot of people will be at the DeWitt Town Court. Meanwhile, here's John Washington is going to be our MC here for most of this. So here he is.
Remind people there's this to sign.
And
just a reminder, if you do continue wanting to sign the orders of protection, for right now, what I'm going to do is read the People's Order of Protection that we're going to be serving to the 174th Attack Wing here at Hancock Air Force Base. And it reads, to President Obama, the United States military, Colonel Greg Semel, Colonel Earl Evans, and the 174th Attack Wing of the Air National Guard. Whereas good cause has been shown for the issuance of this order of protection, the people of all nations committed to peace, having overwhelmingly made a determination in accordance with both the spirit and letter of the United Nations Charter, do hereby order the above named, and more specifically their Hellfire missiles and 500-pound bombs fired from MQ-9 Reaper drones operated at the Hancock Airfield, home of the 174th Attack Wing of the New York State Air National Guard, are to stay away from the children of the world and their families. This includes their homes, their schools, their places of play, their places of work, the forests where they gather for wood, the fields where they tend their vegetables and flocks, and further, the above named shall refrain from assaulting, stalking, harassing, bombing, killing, maiming, and terrorizing, criminal obstruction of breathing or circulation, forcible touching, intimidation, threats, or any criminal offense. There shall be no more improper touching of the children of the world or their families with your Hellfire missiles or your 500-pound bombs. There shall be no more menacing and reckless endangerment of the children and their families. It is further ordered that this order of protection shall remain in force forever. Failure to comply with this order will result in the people's continued nonviolent resistance to this illegal and immoral behavior. And further, please see the attached plea for the people of Afghanistan making this request. This order is personally served at the gates of Hancock Air Force Base, the site where these war crimes have been committed. So in a few moments, we're going to take a walk over to the base and hand our orders of protection over. But we are an esteemed company here, so first off, I would like to invite the great Quadir Latif to regale us again with his poem about drones. And then we'll let Brother West do what Brother West does, and that's get us riled up.
Say if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. I want to just personally say this is a beautiful experience to see people come out for people that they don't know, but for humanity that we all share. Give yourself a round of applause.
Yeah. That's a big round of applause for yourself. Come on.
This is called While You Were Watching TV. This is called While You Were Watching TV. While you were watching Scandal last night, there was a scandal last night. It had nothing to do with Kerry Washington cheating with the president, but the president in Washington will have to carry the scandal that shed blood in Somalian, Pakistani, and Yemeni residents. And while you were watching Dancing with the Stars, 3 lifeless babies gazed into the stars while drones tore them apart. Shoot at the face, aim at the heart, you can hear the screams in the dark. Or maybe while you were watching the cooking channel, mothers and daughters' bodies burnt to a crisp while drones unloaded the ammo. But they won't get no reward for that. Trophies. There are 100 babies lying in a sandy ditch. Stand and look, it's a lot worse than Sandy Hook, but it won't make the news because the government makes the news in order to control the views, mind control. But we don't mind control because terrorism is so bad. But if we don't mind control, this thing could get so sad. They say if a tree falls in the forest and no one sees it, oh, excuse me, if a drone kills 300 people, innocent people, and no one reads it, no one cries, because no one bleeds it or grieves it or breathes it. Heck, we can't even conceive it if it doesn't come with a soda and fry. But what about the body slumped over on the side? They cried. 75 Pakistanis were killed, but you didn't hear about it because on the same day, a famous American actor died. And they won't get no reward for that. Trophies. While you were watching 2.5 Men, 3 fathers were bombed and turned into 2.5 men. $2 billion spent, but if it's not your next of kin, we overlook it like the incarceration of blacks and Mexicans. And they don't get no reward for that. Trophies. So while you were watching Scandal last night, there was a scandal last night that had nothing to do with Kerry Washington cheating with the president, but the president in Washington will have to carry the scandal that shed blood in Somali and Pakistani and Afghani residents. And while you were watching Dancing with the Stars, 3 lifeless babies gaze into the stars while drones tore them apart. Shoot at the face, aim at the heart. You can even hear the screams in the dark. While you were watching RoboCop, cops were becoming robots. Yeah. And during the commercial, all the innocent became terrorists. And soon death will be so close you can't even run from. So you can choose to ignore the reality of drones, but pray that you don't become one. Thank you.
Powerful words. And I'm sorry, I know I said Brother West would be next, but I would be remiss if we didn't hear from the people that are the reason why we are here, the people that have the orders of protection, the people that have been fighting this fight. So I want to invite Ray Kramer up. This woman really is a true hero of the peace and social justice movement, and has put her life in jeopardy for the lives of others, and it's a courage that really does inspire me, so I'll let her say it much better than I can.
I gotta look at you for a minute because you just turned me on today. And I had a question for you which I didn't get a chance to ask, and that was, this occasion was so unusual in having in a room that size that many white people and black people together. Yes, how do we do that without you? Talk about it. Do it with him. Okay. I'm glad to be here, although I'm kind of pissed off that I have to, the reason we're in this part of the parking lot is those of us who have an order of protection. If we are in sight of the base, we are in violation of that order. So we're hiding behind this building. If you know anything about orders of protection related to domestic violence, they are imposed on an individual, not an institution. So I'd like to know whether Colonel Semmel is stalking the perimeter of the base with his binoculars, looking for me and looking for James and looking for Elliot, etc. And that's bullshit, and we know that that's not happening. So what we're seeing is an escalation of their imposition of constraints on all of us. Part of the reason I feel this whole business very strongly is that for a number of years I was a teacher teaching about domestic violence. These were men who had been convicted in either family court or some other court about a violation in some way connected to domestic violence, and they were given the opportunity of taking a weekly class for 6 months or going to Jamesville prison for 6 months, and most chose to stay on the outside and come to class. So the lessons that I learned and then talked about and shared and discussed with these men, what I learned was domestic violence, domestic abuse is not about sexual aggression. It is about power and control. Those are the words in the literature. Those are the words that are meaningful both to the people who are causing the violence and those who are experiencing it. This abuse and violence can be physical, mental, emotional, financial, sexual, and what we're seeing now is the extension of this concept to the political. It's very chilling to use that current in word. One of the strongest methods that people who commit domestic violence, the method that's used most effectively is isolation. Whether people are literally locked up in a house, or the car keys are taken away, or the money is taken away, people are isolated. They cannot have solidarity. They cannot be connected to other people who are safe, other people to whom they can tell the truth. What is happening with the imposition of an order of protection on us is the same kind of dynamic. There are approximately 50 people who have gotten orders of protection since October 25th, 2012. Out of that 50, the number of people who have risked further arrest doing additional peaceful, nonviolent civil resistance is 4. This is a damn clever tactic on their part. Highly successful. A ploy that has proven to be so effective in reducing our numbers. Seeing you all here today is just wonderful, because I believe that overwhelmingly you are not part of that other 46. You are new. You are new to this. You are safe. You will be exercising your First Amendment rights in a peaceful, permitted, nonviolent way. In no way should your activities be compromised by the fear of legal action. I'm wearing a shirt that I'm very fond of. This is not a striptease ad. Right. I need more than one hand, I guess, to do the buttons. It's a shirt that was created for the SOA Watch movement, the movement to close the School of the Americas. And the shirt says, you can jail the resistors, but you can't jail the resistance. That's what this is about. That's what this is about. You are the resistance. And it's very purposeful that when we speak about civil resistance, not civil disobedience. We are not talking about bad laws that need to be changed. We are talking about laws that are in effect, that have been approved, adopted by our Senate and our country, rules associated with international treaties. We have said we agree to that, and now there is all this backpedaling. Somehow or another, we are not encouraged to challenge our government and say, you guys are breaking the law. It's not okay to drop bombs on people of countries that we are not at war with. Now, you could argue it's not a good idea to drop bombs on anybody anyway, but certainly what we are doing is a clear violation of the law. Let again the generation of kill lists, the judicial arrogance in deciding who dies and who lives, by what means, all of this is against the law. And our civil resistance is our way of saying, as citizens of this country, who are truly committed to the principles of the Constitution, you are in violation. It's kind of ironic that for people who are victims of domestic violence, the imposition and administration of orders of protection is somewhat erratic and inconsistent. You will find many women who talk about going through the process and are not one whit safer. I won't say every week, but almost every 3 or 4 months is a story in the Syracuse newspapers about a woman who tried to get away and who's now a murder victim. What happens in the case of domestic violence is that the imposition of power and control escalates. And that is what's happening with us as well. The fact that we are hiding behind this building, the fact that Lieutenant Kurt Daly, who is the person we spoke to from the Sheriff's Department, said to us, oh, you can come to BOCES if you have other kinds of business. If you're signing up for a class, you're delivering a package. But to go to BOCES to protest, to act within a permitted activity, to exercise our First Amendment rights within sight of the base, is now reason for further arrest. And I should say I had a little conversation with Lieutenant Daly about 10 minutes ago. The base has generated a sheaf of papers that has not only the list of the names of everyone who has an active order of protection, but a little bio and a photo. And those papers have been handed out to the officers that are there. Yes, you can give an autograph on your way to jail. They are ready. Anybody who has an active order of protection, if they can match your face to that piece of paper, you will be arrested. It's kind of odd, and I don't know whether there's any coincidence to this, but the 2 judges that we have dealt with mostly, Judge David Gideon and Judge Robert Jokel, have both chosen to be away out of town this weekend. The 3rd judge, who was one of the first to issue the order of protection, a Judge McConkey, died about 6 weeks ago. So if you are arrested, you will be processed in one of the surrounding townships or downtown at City Court, at the Justice Center downtown. We don't have experience with these other people. We don't know what the situation will be. Those of us who've gotten arrested and spent a night as guests of the county, it's fine. It's cold and the food is shitty, but it falls into the category of inconvenience. It has nothing to do with being maimed or having one's house bombed or losing a family member. It is trivial compared to the suffering that we're causing.
Right. Legally, they don't have to process on the same day because it's a Sunday. It's possible if somebody gets arrested that they may actually be processed tomorrow.
What Barry is saying is that because it's Sunday, it's conceivable that if you are arrested today, you will be held overnight and not processed until tomorrow. So think about that in terms of responsibilities of work, etc. Oh, let me interrupt myself for a second. There is a blue Saturn, I was told, at the end of one of these rows that's light. The lights are on and the doors are locked. So if that's your car, okay. We must assert our rights in the streets and in the court. And to do that, we need solidarity. So seeing the numbers here is really terrific. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to close with one little story. As part of a trial associated with trying to close the School of the Americas, there was a priest from San Francisco who turned to the judge and said, "Sir, you are pimping for the Pentagon." And the silence in the courtroom was, whoa. It is my feeling that is getting stronger and stronger. I'm not sure who these judges are pimping for, whether it's the town or whether it's the state or whether it's the Army or the Pentagon or the drone program or the president. But it is clear that justice is not happening in the courts of the town of DeWitt. Thank you for being here. Have fun on the march. I am with you in spirit, if not in body. Thank you.
Can everybody hear out there? And if you can't hear, bring it in. Ladies and gentlemen, the most dangerous woman in DeWitt. Do these look like people that deserve orders of protection from military colonels? Really?
Wow.
I think they do, because they're really a threat to their further livelihood and their jobs. And next up, we have another threat to the livelihood of Mr. Evans and Mr. Semmel, Judy Bello.
Okay. Okay, I'll try and keep it short because I know you're all eager to hear from Dr. West. But I just wanted to point out, like Ray, I will not be able, due to my personal commitments, to march out with you. But I thought maybe I would send me along with you, and Carol's agreed to carry me. And I wanted to point out my two friends that are here on the image with me. And the first one is a young man whose picture I'm holding, and his name is Tariq Aziz. And Tariq was killed in a drone strike a few days after attending a jirga, or a town meeting, where he agreed, he was a teenager at the time, he agreed to take pictures of bomb parts found around his village so that they could prove whose bombs the parts came from. And we probably would never know what happened to Tariq, except that aside from apparently some CIA representatives at this jirga, there were some British and American reporters who were very favorably impressed by this lovely young man who was committed to making his community a better and safer place. And so 2 days later, a drone strike took him out along with his 11-year-old cousin. And to this day, it's on the books that there were 2 militants in that car. And then from there, I'm going to show you another young man, a teenager also. This is Raz Mohammad. And Raz, you heard about him earlier during our video presentation. Raz wrote a request for an order of protection. I talked to him one day and I asked him, you know, if he'd like to have his family protected after his brother-in-law was killed in this drone strike. And just to give a little context, Raz comes from MaidanShahr in Wardak Province. This is a Pakhtun area, and there's a lot of Taliban around there. They are there. They are a strong political element in his community. And therefore, drones fly overhead 24/7, continuously surveilling and terrorizing the people of the town that Raz comes from. And occasionally, those drones strike. And who they're going to hit is anyone's guess. So Raz is a very courageous young man, and the difference between him and Tariq is that Raz is still alive. And he's working with a group of peace activists in Kabul. So I just wanted to introduce him to you a little more than you heard about him before. It's called Afghan Peace Volunteers is the group he's with, and you can find them at ourjourneytosmile.com. And these young people are so brave because they're doing the same thing that got Tariq killed. And they're doing it bravely and without stepping back. And yes, we're doing it here too. And you hear a lot about the domestic drones and coming here. It's okay, it's no big deal. They're only for, surveillance. You have these wonderful uses. Well, for starters, I just want you to know that thinking that Amazon will ever deliver packages with drones to anyone who's not a billionaire is just plain stupid. They are playing on your ignorance. If you doubt this, envision this in your mind. It's a beautiful summer's day, and there's a couple dozen little noisy helicopters buzzing at the roof level in your community, dropping books on people's porches. You really think they'll ever do that? Envision a bunch of people, pilots, quote unquote, lined up in front of terminals in one of Amazon's warehouses, each one driving a separate drone instead of one driver in your UPS truck carrying all the packages. So this is just a way to deceive you and to cause you to think that the drones are innocuous. In fact, the drones that are flying right now on American borders are mostly predators, except the ones they're testing right here. Those are Reapers. These drones, they say, oh, they're not armed. Well, if your local policeman was driving a tank through the city and they said, oh, it's okay, it's not armed, would you buy it? Would you think that was like the critical detail at the moment? Why are they using weapons and not putting the bullet in the gun and telling you, oh, it's not armed, in our domestic airspace? Right now, they have pushed the FAA in trying to bring these drones into the domestic airspace to the point where the FAA has been unable to keep up. And the only way that they've stayed in the game, they've been threatened that it will be taken away and given to Homeland Security. So the FAA is fighting to stay in control of the integration of these drones into American airspace. So we need to really think about the fact that, here's another picture to think about. So they got this drug dealer, right? And he's in LA, South LA. And they're all trying to get him. And so the police call in Border Patrol. The Border Patrol, maybe he's Mexican. The Border Patrol sends a drone, a Predator, to help out. And there he is. He's standing on a street corner there in South LA somewhere. And maybe there's some children playing in a yard. Maybe there's a bus stop on that corner. A bunch of people are waiting to get the bus to work. Zoop! The Predator gets this high interest person. Yes, and nobody notices the 10 people with him or 15. Do they notice that in Afghanistan? Is it relevant in Pakistan or Yemen? It isn't. So inviting them to set that scenario up in our own country is not a good thing. And I guess I'm trying to give you some pictures in your mind so that when you think it's not a good thing, you have a way to envision that. And when they tell you about silly little drones delivering your books, you'll understand that that's just silliness.
Thank you, Judy. Let's walk.
So, yes. No, wait. We got to have Dr. West first. Okay. I'm done. Thank you.
All right, we're getting ready to march. But we just want to make it clear that drones constitute an imperial crime against humanity. We want to be very clear about that.
Yes.
We want to say that what we say in our march is in many ways a response to the great Marvin Gaye when he raised the question in spring of 1971 in the greatest popular musical album, What's Going On, when he said, who really cares? We do. We do. And he said, who really focuses on the babies and the children? We do. We are here because we love the precious and priceless children, and we oppose lies of government and crimes of government. And so when Donny Hathaway and Roberta Flack say, where is the love? All they got to do is look at Hancock Air Force Base today. This is where the love is. We march in the name of love.
Okay. Ellen's got some very specific instructions for our march. If you don't want to get arrested, you probably should listen.
Or maybe not. So hello everybody, thank you for all your patience. The idea today, as you have heard the theme, an order of protection, but so the way the walk specifically is going to be, we're going to do a single file march, and the beginning of the march is a memorial to the people who've been killed. Some of you are carrying photographs of those people, and we want them in the front. And then as we, and we're going to start with the sign, with this sign, though this young girl was not killed, her parents were killed. And the sign right behind it will be "Drones Bury Beautiful Lives," from the words of Raz Mohammad. I got this image just the other day from the artist who put this this display up in Pakistan. And it was a group of artists that got together, and they took this image of this young girl whose parents were killed and she was wounded, and they blew it up huge, and it's in a field now in Pakistan, and it's quite powerful. If you look it up on the internet, it's called not a bug splat, and we added "we are not bug splat," so that people and that refers to the images on the screen that the drone operators see. They look like, people look like bug splat to them, and so they're not human. So these artists wanted to show a face, and this image that's so huge in this field now is visible from a drone, and so you can see the face of the child. So we want to bring the faces of the victims first, and as we're walking single file down the road, we will pause at Malloy Road, and then the police will block off some traffic so that we can walk down Malloy Road. And as we arrive, somebody will be reading the names of people who've been killed. And we have flowers, and I want for everybody to take a flower and bring the flower, and we're going to be laying them out in a row, remembering on some fabric that will be on the ground, remembering each of the people whose names that we're reading. And then after that, we're going to step back and have a song, the song that Vicky read sang at the church, and then we'll have a moment of silence, and then we'll step forward in a sign of action and bring the order of protection and read the order of protection, and then we are going to put the images of the people who have that you have, especially the ones that are on these crosses, and we're going to put them into the ground and leave them there with our big sign that says that calls for the order of protection for the children. So I'm sorry, let me just review that again. We're going to have the beginning, the victims, with "Drones Bury Beautiful Lives." Behind that, as we walk, we're going to have these very big signs for the orders of protection, and behind that We will have the images of the children, mostly who are alive now, who need those orders of protection. And so hopefully we can line up for that. It's a little hard. I know I have a hard time walking in a straight line without chatting with people, but if we could have a solemn procession down to the base in memory of these people who've been killed, but also that we are here today to take an active stand to say no more, and that we are calling for protection for all children everywhere.
In truth and non-violence.
Truth and non-violence.
Everywhere. Everywhere. We will respect. And be fully loving to all in our path. Thank you.
Amen.
Well, that's tall order, I know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make it so hard. But we can do it, and we are doing it, because that's why we're here. We're here in love and truth.
Let me know. I don't know if she'd be open to it, but I like what you had to say.
This one now, but they're working obviously to put as many up as possible. This is in Waziristan in Pakistan. So they have a few cuts. Artistic renderings of their faces.
Here they come.
And walk down here, okay? So they're going to follow us. So you're going to carry that all the way up. Put your flowers up there. You're going to carry it all the way up. If you guys could keep moving, please. Cris, move.
Spiral around, and we're putting the flowers down. Each flower represents a human life.
They come up and we stood up there and we were at the front. We were standing there.
Any individual at any time to vacate the private property owned by Hancock Field Air National Guard Base. Those who fail to disperse upon direction or otherwise violate the terms of this issued permit should be subject to arrest. I say again, you have entered and are currently on private property of the 174th Attack Wing, Hancock Field, New York Air National Guard. The commander, 174th Attack Wing, has authorized the use of this marked area only as a designated assembly site, of which you are welcome to remain in as long as the terms of the town of DeWitt issued permit are not violated and you're not otherwise in violation of any federal, state, or local law or ordinance.
Thank you, Chief.
The commander, 174th Attack Wing, reserves the right to rescind this authorization at any time and further reserves the right to direct any individual at any time to vacate the private property of Hancock Field Air National Guard Base. Those who fail to disperse upon direction, or otherwise violate the terms of the issued permit, will be subject to arrest. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Bravo!
Anybody have a copy of the First Amendment? You can read them.
I think it applies. It's not here.
Drones bury innocent lives, killing sons, fathers, daughters, and wives. Drones bury beautiful lives. 5 young men were killed having tea. They gathered quite innocently. Since the death of my brother-in-law, I have no peace of mind left at all. At home I can't keep on the light. It draws too much attention at night. My folks fear a drone strike by mistake. Children, families, all of us quake. Drones bury beautiful lives. Drones bury innocent lives. Killing sons, fathers, daughters, and wives. Drones bury beautiful lives. Drones bring terror far and wide. side. Sounds overhead, nowhere to hide. Never ceasing to strike fear in the heart. In this terror, we must do our part. The love of humanity, the rule of law and sanity. How can we forget what's true when we know love alone sees us through? Drones bury beautiful lives. Drones bury innocent lives. Killing sons, fathers, daughters, and wives. Drones bury beautiful lives.
So if you have an image, come forward and we'll do it along the line here. We'll make a line here. And then maybe I'll bring the microphone to each of you and you can say the name of the person or where they're from if it's on your sign. So if you can line up here, one straight line, that would be great. Come.
MaidanShahr, 7 years old, Hyderabad, Pakistan.
Tariq Aziz, 16 years old, killed in the U.S. drone strike October 31st, 2011, along with his 12-year-old cousin Wahid Khan in Pakistan.
3 children killed in Helmand Province, Afghanistan.
Child drone victim from Kunar Province, Afghanistan.
Trayvon Martin.
Tariq Aziz, 16 years old, killed by the US drone in Pakistan.
Mobina Bibi, midwife and grandmother, killed by a drone strike in northern Waziristan, Pakistan. She was in the village harvesting okra with her grandchildren. She delivered hundreds of babies and was the only midwife in their village.
Nabila was the granddaughter of this lady.
She was wounded in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Once. Okay. Do you want to say anything?
Multiple children who have died as a result of U.S. drone policy.
Families say they have destroyed our entire family and they have wreaked havoc on our family and our happiness.
This is a daughter that's alive of the parents that are deceased, that were killed.
Sean Greenwood.
Do you want to say something?
Okay. Victims of a NATO attack in Helmand Province in Afghanistan. 3 children in a field are looking for cooking fuel.
And then who's on the other side?
On the other side is a young drone victim killed in Pakistan.
This is Abdul Rahman Al-Awaki,
16 years old, a U.S. citizen. He was killed in a U.S. drone strike October 14, 2011, along with 6 others in Yemen.
So many children, young, innocent children, victims of drone strikes. I suppose they're collateral damage. Can you imagine if another country dropped bombs here and killed your children?
Drone victim, Pakistan.
Sean Greenwood, killed by Ithaca Police Department on a continuum of the militarization of the police and the war in Afghanistan and Iraq and Pakistan through drone warfare. If they come for people in those places through drones, they will come for us in the morning, and they're already doing so. We refuse the militarization of the prison industrial complex and the war all over the world waged by the U.S.
I don't know the names of these young men, but they are my brothers in humanity, and they deserved a trial.
Four persons killed in Yemen.
Drone strike in Somalia.
Drone strike to innocent children.
Drone victim, Kunar Province, Afghanistan.
7-year-old Syed Wali Shah in Pakistan.
Trayvon Martin.
So, for those who have stakes, if you can now place them, James, you want to give us an example of that?
Where do you want?
Right here. Yep. Okay. Place them. I can't get them in either. I forgot I have them. If I had it,
Rock, paper, scissors.
just lean it up against it.
Thank you.
Go forward with energy.
Don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people. The power of the people. Don't stop. Say what?
Thank you all for coming. We're done.
Don't stop. What? Ain't no power like the power of the people. Cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people. Cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people. Cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people. Cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people. Cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people. Cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people. Cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people. Cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people. Cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people. Cause the power of the people don't stop. Say what?
I know I did this first demonstration. I know, forget it. I was like, I'm going to throw my sign at you and then I'm going to disappear again.
The police.